Hello, Goose and Ghost. Oh, it's so great for you to join me today, because I have come upon a grand revelation. I have read all of the original series of Goosebumps over a course of far too many months, and I have come away with something that will blow your mind. But be warned, this is not for the faint of heart. In fact, I would even say that viewer beware. You're in for a scare. Alright, so let's just jump right into it. See, first we're gonna have the series itself, and that is Goosebumps. Okay, so we got that. So now, next we're just gonna put a little pin in that, right here. And that's gonna be right underneath our boy, my man, R.L. Stine himself, the one and only. Now, when it comes to the books themselves, I found that there have been 3 tones throughout the book, and that is gonna be horror, comedy, and adventure. And here we have the basis of what we're going to be connecting most of our things to get our ideas across. We'll start with horror, because that's the main draw of the Goosebumps books. I would think, most people would want to go to Goosebumps for horror. And I want to start off with one of the biggest complaints I have with these books, and that is the fake scares. Now, when I say fake scares, I'm meaning scares that aren't actually happening in the book, and it's just there to be scary, and it's not actually having any relevance to the story at all. Now, these are terrible because you're taking away from the actual book. And these books are already short. And I know, maybe you have to write some filler. And good old RL, he in the days have said that at his peak, he was writing these at book maybe every 2 weeks. So you're going to have some filler in there if you want to write that. But it just takes away from the story because the books are so short. I don't think they need filler. More of the time, I even think that they could be used to work on the story and expand the story, because some of these stories are actually pretty interesting, but they don't get explored upon enough. And well, anyways, that's my biggest thing with the fake scares. But mainly, the thing is that the fake scares come in 2 different ways, and that's usually in a dream sequence, like a dream, and then there's the daydream. Now, what is a daydream scene, you may be asking? Well, it's the scenes in which we're just trotting along around the story, and then they just decide to give us a little aside of nothing happening. Now, that could be, for example, in Monster Blood 2. There was a scene where Evan, the main character, is told that he has to take care of the pet hamster. And in a fit of rage, he picks up the hamster, says, "No, I don't want to," and throws it out the window. Then that's revealed that that's just a daydream, and that's, not cool. Because, the chapter ends on that to add tension, and he's like, oh no, I just thought that. Oh, Don't just see that how cheap that is, that we're just going to be given, a nothing in the story just to give some fake tension at the end of each chapter. I mean, RL couldn't hold tension throughout a book for his life in these small kids' books, and he just has to make these tiny little tensions in each chapter that just don't really work all together, and it makes it so that you can't really trust the scares of the book because you don't know what's actually happening. And I think that's a word for something like that you're being tricked into something not happening. I don't know. Whatever. No, a dream. What's that? That's just a regular dream when the character's asleep and then they just have a dream where something bad happens and it's been maybe a chapter or the past few chapters. I think it's terrible. We're just giving more dreams. I mean, sometimes it even takes up a whole book. Although, I will say, it does work a few times for some great books, like Don't Go to Sleep. Or even I Live in Your Basement. Oh God, no. Not I Live in Your Basement. Keith. Now I want to get to the scares themselves. Overall, when it comes to books, R.L. Stine is pretty good at writing scares, even with some great prose at times. One of my favorite times, actually, was in the book Ghost Camp, where there was sound effects splitting up the words that were in a column down the page. While yes, it filled the page more and made it easier to fill pages, I think it was a good effect because it was, creating this separation between each line, between short bursts of dialogue, and adding a lot of tension. The thing is, the two main things I actually find scary with these books are the terrible lives of the protagonists and the amount of, oh yeah, gaslighting. That's what it was. I think that's a word for something like that. That you're being tricked into something not happening. I don't know. Whatever. The lives of the characters are just terrible. I mean, they have the worst siblings, the worst parents, the worst friends, the worst bullies, like the worst teachers. It's always the worst. They never have anything great with their lives. Maybe they have like one good friend and that's it. But come on, one friend? Come on. Like this stuff is heavy for kids. I don't know if Oreos would be writing for kids, honestly, at this point. But I mean, yeah, they're just terrible. I mean, the one that really got me though was Night of the Living Mummy 2. And Calling All Creep. But I will say Calling All Creeps is a different story because that kind of is a Joker origin story. And I think it fits the tone better, even. And I mean, whatever. Just don't have a Joker moment. But the true horror is the gaslighting, the endless amount of gaslighting. Everyone gaslights. It's terrible. Like, if you've never experienced gaslighting to that amount, I implore you to check these books out. It is a perfect representation. As long as you understand what gaslighting is and like all of that going in, like you'll be able to get a good representation. If you don't know that already, you wouldn't get that. But I think it's pretty insane how good the gaslighting is in these books. Though I can say in The Girl Who Cried Monster, he kind of deserved the gaslighting. He's the only character I would say deserved the gaslighting because he major gaslit other people. Like, I mean, The Girl Who Cried Monster instead of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, but now that we're done with horror, I can talk about comedy. Now, the thing is about the comedy is that usually most of the jokes aren't that good. They come in some good jokes, but they are like two types of comedy, and I would say in this book, other than like a little joke here and there, it's the pranks that characters play on each other and ironic situations that happen in these books because let's be clear, when I say like ironic, I mean like English literature sense ironic. You're having a situation where you don't expect something to happen, like say in Calling All Creeps, he thinks he's calling creepy people but he calls in creep monsters. So whatever. Those ironic situations don't come up that often, but the pranks are literally, as I said before, they're just gaslighting. Like, it's just people saying like, oh no, I didn't break your room, why would you think that was me? And then they'd be like hiding a bat behind them and it's like, oh, why'd you do that, dude? That's just fucked up. The adventure parts of these books are just the sections where it feels like you're going to do like a story of like a fantasy event or something simple like that, and with little to none horror elements. This would be an examples of How I Got My Shrunken Head, or even Why I'm Afraid of Bees. It just follows the story of the characters going through these events. So like the guy turning into a bee, like I guess there are some horror elements when he's describing the bees in the hives. But in the How I Got My Shrunken Head, like horror is like I fell into a sand trap and I'm getting out using magic. It's not really that horrifying, but I guess if you were in the situation, it'd be horrifying. But the way it's written comes off more of an adventure kind of story. Now that we've got all of that talking about, we can really start on what I wanted to talk about, and that's the lore of the Goosebumps series, because it is top notch, must I say, and it is very interesting. It leaves a few clues around I want to lay out for you. But first, I want to talk about just the books that had sequels, because we know for sure that those were using the world multiple times. And those are going to include Monster Bud, Night of the Living Dummy, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, Deep Trouble, Sages and Die, and The Haunted Mask. Now, in Haunted Mask 2, they do mention mud monsters. Now, mud monsters, this is as a proper noun, and the only other story that has mud monsters, and it is a proper noun, is You Can't Scare Me. Now, I like to think that these two are connected somehow, because why would they both be proper nouns unless they were connected? They were referring to the same thing. Something else that is consistent is that dogs can see and will be hostile towards ghosts. This is mentioned in Ghost Beach. And it happens in any other story that has to do with ghosts, other than the barking ghost. Because the ghosts are the dogs themselves, and so like they can't really be hostile towards themselves. But every other story that has a ghost and a dog in it, it happens that the dog notices that the ghost is a ghost and will start barking at them and being hostile towards them. And I think that's just an interesting lore point, but it doesn't connect to anything here. But we're just gonna put it there. Now, here's a small thing. I did not lead them for this project, but the Goosebumps Horrorland series has titles to the different books that I have, and they mention some of the stories on this list. Now, I think we can reasonably say that they're connected to Horrorland itself, but I did read these as a kid, so I remember some of it. Like, I remember Monster Bud being sold in the story and it happening. I do remember something happening with a Shocker on Shock Street. But when I went back and looked at it, it was not what I read on the title, and I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy here. Now, what is Horrorland? Well, Horrorland is a theme park in which you actually get harmed on the rides on purpose. Now, this can take for many forms. For example, the Doom Slide, a slide in which you never leave it, but it is only 1 in 13 chance. Now, that's quite horrifying, if I do say so myself. But the thing is that the staff never take it as a joke. They play it all serious. They tell everyone, yes, you will be harmed on these rides, but no one takes them seriously. You know, isn't that weird? Like, you would think that the horror park would just be trying to gaslight them, be like, no, you're fine, so that they can hurt these people, but they actually don't. They want you to know that you might die, and, you know, I think that's interesting, I would say the least. But they do one thing with the guests. They film the guests for a prank show. Well, I mean, it's a prank show where you die, but still, it's a prank show, so I think it counts. Okay, so this is gonna be a weird side thing. I know it's not that interesting, but I find it a little interesting, and I think it just should be said here before we get into it any deeper. Now, R.L. Stine has a strange thing with birds, people being named birds, being likened to birds, people turning into birds. It just happens like a lot. I don't know, like there's even an egg-laying story. I don't know. I think there's something there, but you know, whatever. Like, I mean, like, you get, like, weird stories of where characters are named Bird, like in Say Cheese or Die, or Be Careful What You Wish For. They're just named Bird. Like, why do we have two characters named, like, one's their last name is Bird, but the other one is, they just called him Bird because he looks like a bird. That's, like, pretty messed up. And also, in Be Careful What You Wish For, the character turns into a bird at the end, And that's also just the basis of the story of Chicken Chicken. So, I don't know. There's something there. I just wanted to get that out of the way. While we're off on a weird side tangent, I'm gonna go off on another tangent just because I can. And I just wanted to talk about Monster Blood. Because Monster Blood is just, it's interesting because I think it is very terrifying when it is used in its blob-like form, where it swallows people and it's like a glowing mass. Like, it's just, that's terrifying. I mean, it swallows everything in its path, and like you can't escape it. That's horrifying. But the other quality of Monster Blood is eating it and it turning you big, and that is used in all of the stories. And it only swallows people in like 2 of the stories. So, and one of them, it's not even regular Monster Blood. It's Monster Blood 4. And the Monster Blood's different. It's not even the same monster. But, whatever. But I just think that it's just more terrifying if you don't talk about the growing properties, but you talk about the blob properties. And I think the show knew this, because I distinctly remember from the show that Monster Blood was used to swallow people more often, and it was just horrifying. I mean, it's so horrifying. The characters, even the main character, Evan, again, he gets PTSD of the color green because he has just horrified by what Monster Blood can do. And he's one of the only characters to be almost swallowed by Monster Blood and get out. So I think it's pretty fair to say that he gets, like, him getting PTSD is pretty fair, but it's messed up for like a kid's story. Like, I don't understand. Like, it. I don't know. I whatever. That's just my weird side tangents about Monster Blood. We'll get back to the topic I had. So, Goosebumps series. Well, we were talking about Goosebumps Horrorland, the series. I want to talk about Goosebumps Slappy World. This is the Goosebumps stories. This is like new Goosebumps stories, but told by Slappy, the character from Night of the Living Dummy, the dummy, and he gives his commentary over the story and with little jokes and such. I didn't read these again, and I don't even think they're all out yet, but it was, I think it should be included just because it has some interesting things with it. And what is it that Slappy does with his victims? Yes, that is, he gaslights them into making them think that they're crazy around the people around them. And it's very horrifying. But that's it. Gaslighting. We have another connection there, and I think we can make some things here go along our way. And look what that brings us all back to. That's right. Gaslighting. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you. Here's the thing. Not everything's so clear-cut in the Goosebumps universe. See, there are inconsistencies between different stories. I want to talk about a specific one with werewolves. You see, there are 3 different ways werewolves are shown. They're shown in one way, which is the normal way we've seen in werewolves, where, they transform on a full moon, they transmit through bite, they are wolf people. It's normal. I don't know about the silver or anything like that, but we could assume so, that because it's never used. But then that's in Werewolf with Fever Swamp. The second type is in Vampire Breath, where werewolves get their powers from a potion called Werewolf Sweat. Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's a Vampire Breath. It's just a whack story, but they're able to transform at will. Now, I think that's a little strange that these 2 are different, but then the third one, in Werewolf Skin. Werewolves get their powers from their skins that come off during the day and they put on during the night. They can transform any night using their werewolf skin, and they can get stronger as the moon glows more full. However, if they are not wearing their werewolf skins when the moon reaches its highest point in the night, they are cured. So I don't know why no one just chooses to do that, but we're just assuming they have like a need to put the skin on, so like they can't do it, because it's very painful for them. But I think these inconsistencies are on purpose, because he's trying to tell us something. Why would there be inconsistencies right in front of us? I mean, it's right there. I think he's trying to gaslight us. That these are all the same. Where does that lead us all to? That's right. Gaslighting. It goes all back to it. Don't you see? I just need the next connection. The next connection to get it all together. I mean, people gaslighting each other, all the characters gaslighting, the monsters gaslighting, the heroes gaslighting their friends, their authenticity of the stories gaslighting, not knowing if the story's gonna be it. I don't know. And you can never take anything seriously, but they're being serious. That's it. Horrorland. That's it. No one takes them serious, but that's it. R.L. Stine, you man. You're not telling fiction. You're telling true stories, aren't you? The clues are all there. You know, I can't believe it. Horrorland? Was it? I mean, well, Slappy, well, he has his own series too, but he's the king of gaslighting. These are real stories. Oh my god. People laugh at him all the time. But he's telling true stories. Can't you see? Don't you see? Hold on. Hey, at Jordan B. Peterson, next time you get a wet dream, you should include me in it so I can fuck you all while whispering sweet pronouns in your ear. And post! Oh, jeez. Where? Oh. I've gotta stop reading Goosebumps before bed. Hey, need some water? What? Who are you? What are you? I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. Like, so are you like a ghost or something? Yeah, but I don't know. But I think I'm kind of here just to haunt you. But check this out. What does that mean? I don't know. Look that! Why'd you do that? Oh.
Oh.